Hello there, welcome back to Crafters TV. I hope you are having a super Sunday. We've had a fantastic show this morning with The Softer Side of Life, and now it's time for one of our newest shows on the schedule. It is time for Craft Class, and what Craft Class is really all about is getting really in depth and focusing on one kind of technique, really taking it back to basics. So if you're new to crafting, if you've never stamped before in your life, absolutely the next 2 hours are going to be invaluable for you. Also, if you are an experienced stamper, then there's definitely still going to be hints, tips and techniques that you're going to pick up and are going to help you. And seeing as it's a craft class, we had to get one of the best teachers around, didn't we? And we managed to get her in the studio. Jan is here with me. How are you, Jan?
I am fine, thank you, Joe. Yep, it's great to be back again. I seem to be spending more time here than I am at home at the minute, but absolutely loving it. And you know that I all love my stamping. So yes, I have got lots of techniques for you today. We're actually going to be looking at some of the Sharon Callis stamps today, so I've just got a few samples to show you here. We're going to be stamping with those and do some heat embossing. I have got some floral stamps today, so we're actually going to do some work on an envelope with these later. I've got the little Lee Holland stamps, we couldn't leave these out, little cutie pies. I'm going to do some paper piecing with those later on, and we've got the rotation stamps back in, so demonstrate these again. I know I still keep seeing questions on these on social media. And to top that, not only have we got the rotation stamps, we've got the platform on the show as well. So I've been asking, and it's back in stock. So Joe will tell you more about that in a little while.
It's really, really exciting. So much coming out. Paper piecing with stamps. I've not seen that done before. Very excited for that. We've also, as Jan said, got that huge stamp platform back for you. I'll show you that as we go through the show. I did just want to give you a heads up though on something really exciting. We've put together a really lovely little starter collection for anyone that wants to get into stamping, and this has got all your essentials in here really. We've got a couple of great acrylic stamps in there. We've also then got the some photopolymer stamps in there. You're going to get an ink pad, the 4x4 platform, the stamping mat, and you're also going to get as well the rocker blocks and the white stamping card in there too. £40 or $60 to get hold of that lovely lot of goodies. Definitely a show that's going to, I reckon, inspire you, but also maybe generate quite a lot of questions. And if you want to get those questions into me about anything stamping related, the Craft Clinic is open. Dr. Jan is in the studio, so we'll answer all of those stamping questions for you. Get in touch in all the normal ways. Crafters TV on Facebook, Crafters Companion over on YouTube. Crystal's in from Pennsylvania, Diane in Tennessee, Kate in New Jersey, Elizabeth in Texas I can see here as well, April in Northern Indiana, Clarden, what a beautiful name, in Arizona, and the lovely Beth is in from Minnesota as well. Get those questions into me and I'll get them over to Jan as we go through the show itself. Now, Jan, I know you've got loads that you want to teach us, haven't you? But I believe we're going to go back to basics to start with.
We are.
We are indeed. So definitely, I reckon this is a show you might even want to take some notes, because Jan is going to share with you everything from different kind of stamps, all the different platforms and all the different paper mediums that we can work with as well. So Jan, I'm really excited because I know I'm going to learn loads in this show.
Honestly, it's like I'm happiest, I think, when I'm stamping. I love all sorts of crafting, but I started out stamping and it's still one of my biggest loves. I love the fact that you can stamp an image out and pretty much turn it into whatever you want by choosing your colouring mediums, you know, what you're stamping on, what you're actually going to put with it as far as embellishments are concerned, and just turn it into something really special. So just before I carry on with any of that, I did this on social media, but just to say Happy Mother's Day to all you mums out there today. So my girls have both I've spoken to them both this morning. We did a little bit yesterday because they knew I was working today. But yeah, special day here in the UK. I know you guys abroad have got it later in the year, so we'll wish you again when it comes along for yours. So what I wanted to start with today then was to actually go through the different types of things that you would use when you're stamping. And the very first thing that I'm going to come to are stamps themselves. And basically, nowadays, they fit into sort of three main categories. There is another category which I have got a box full of somewhere, but we don't see as much, and I'll explain what I mean. So you may be more familiar with the clear stamps, and a lot of stamps now are actually on the clear acrylic. And you will either get an acrylic version or a photopolymer version, and they do look very similar. They're both a form of acrylic. So we've actually got both of these on the show today. Let me just put some white under there so that you can see that better. These are both part of that package today. So we've actually got one acrylic and one photopolymer, and they do look very, very similar. The difference is that the photopolymer one, which is this one, is a better quality, should we say, and you'll find it's thicker than an ordinary acrylic one. So if I start and go back to this particular set, these are acrylic, and if I can just take one of these off here, and where's my little packet, move that out of the way. So these are actually sort of a very, very thin acrylic made sort of cast stamp, very flexible, and they are cling, so they will cling to your stamping platforms and things like that. So whatever you choose to work with, they're literally just going to stick on there and not come off. Now the difference, if I show you the photopolymer ones, and as I say, it's not always obvious, but the photopolymer ones are usually a bit thicker. I can just tell taking that off the carrier sheet that it's actually thicker. Now, as I say, it's not an obvious one. I don't know whether we can pick that up. I can see that there.
Does the photopolymer look a bit more blue almost as well, Jan?
Almost a bit more clear, yes. Yeah, and it's got quite a distinctive smell to it, the photopolymer.
Yes, I know a lot of our ladies love to sniff their stamps.
Oh, stamps, paper, ink, you name it, Joe, honestly. But yeah, it has got quite a distinctive smell to the photopolymer, but they look and behave very similar. It's just that, as I say, the photopolymer is a little bit more sort of quality product, for want of a better word. It's more expensive to make. Often we try not to translate that into the cost of the stamps, but sometimes it does make a difference depending on the size and quantity of your stamps in a package. But yeah, a bit more robust, still very, very flexible, okay, and it still clings to your chosen stamping platform, which we'll talk about in a second. Okay, so photopolymer and acrylic, both different types of acrylic, just different levels. I'm trying to think of something to compare it to, Joe. I was trying to think of a comparison.
Leave it with me, Jan. I'll see if I can come up with something.
Yeah, both the same thing, but one a bit more sort of quality than the other. And then the other type that we're probably most used to are rubber stamps. Now these come in, you can get grey rubber. This is an old set that I just grabbed out of my my box on the way here. So this is grey rubber. You'll also get red rubber, and again you can get different colours. I think I've seen like a turquoisey colour in the past, and these tend to come again in two different versions. You could get, we tend to sell just the actual rubber on its own. And this usually needs some kind of cushion underneath it to help with the stamping. So we tend to sell things like Easy Mount and things like that, which is a cushion that sticks on the back to absorb some of that pressure. And all you do with these is literally, if you've got any of these in your stash and you're not sure, you just cut around as close to the image as you can without actually damaging whatever's on, whether it's an illustration, in this sense this is a sentiment one, but just literally cut away any of the excess rubber that you actually don't need. And then I would use my stick and spray adhesive, which is the temporary adhesive, and just spray that on the back of here, and it makes them cling to your actual choice of stamping platform. And again, stamp away with those. Now I'm going to come on to the platform choices in a second, but if you choose this particular platform with our stamping mat, that actually negates the need to have the cushion behind it. So again, lots of different ways of doing things. And then I did say there was another kind of stamp, which, as I say, is where we sort of started out. And any of you that have been stamping for a while will know that there are wooden block stamps. Now I didn't bring one of those because mine are actually packed away in a box and I can't remember the last time I used them. But originally stamps were made out of rubber and attached to a wooden block, and you use the wooden block as the pressure to stamp with. And I bet you've all got some of those lying around in your stash.
Do you know where I saw loads of those? When I was travelling in Vietnam, there was loads of those wooden block stamps, and also just carved wooden stamps as well, that were just actually wood that were already on like a little, they looked a bit like a blending tool really, but they were actually little carved wooden stamps.
We've got one or two showing some of the signature collections that are like a little, they do look a little bit like the blending tool. They're just like a little stamp peg that have got a small image on the edge that you can stamp with. There is a way of getting the rubber section off the wooden mount blocks, but that's not something that I've ever tried. I know I've heard people say that you can get the actual rubber off and use them as normal rubber stamps, but mine are all still, as I say, on a wooden block. So different types of stamps there. The next thing that I want to come to is what you actually put your stamp on. So I've actually brought with me, I started out just with a plain acrylic block. And these came in all different shapes and sizes, and I still use mine from time to time today. It sits at the side of my desk. I've got a big one, I've got a little one for sentiments, things like that. And again, those clear stamps, so if you wanted to stamp out a sentiment, you could literally just cling to your stamp and away we go. Okay, but obviously we don't sell these now because I think we've come on since then. I think stamping platforms have actually moved on since then. And one of the ones that you'll see us use a lot is our little stamping platforms. Now these come as a 4x4, which is the one that we've got in our introductory kit today. We do a 6x6 and we do an 8x8. And again, all your stamps just cling onto the back here, and then you can ink them up and press them. And I'll actually stamp this one out to show you what I mean. So we recommend using these with your stamping mat, which is also in that starter kit. So we've thought about what you need to actually work with if you're new to stamping, and that's what we're thinking about today. I know there's a lot of stampers out there, but if any of you are actually new to stamping today, this was sort of like an introduction. So the two work together, and the reason being is an acrylic stamp is almost like, it's a little bit like sort of jellified. They are really sort of quite, you know, literally quite squishy. And if you've got a hard surface that you're putting your stamp on and a hard surface that you're going to stamp onto, the pressure can only go into the bit that's got give in it, which is the stamp. And sometimes, particularly with sentiments, it can distort the stamp a little bit. Does it sort
of just smush it out a bit then?
Yeah, and it can sort of distort the size of things, or it can sort of make it look as if it's blurred a little bit. So if ever you've had issues with that, it may just be that you need something underneath your stamping material. Now this has been designed specifically for that job, and all it is really dense foam, but it has got a give in it, so that when we then press this down, the pressure goes into the pad instead of into the stamp. So literally, I'm just going to stamp this one out, and I'll talk about the inks in a second. But always take my ink, or 99% of the time, take my ink to the stamp, ink it up, and then literally all you would do with this one is pop it in your chosen position, press it down, give it a second for that ink to transfer, and it's as simple as that. And beautiful. You'll get a really beautiful image there. Was perfect. So that's how that particular system works. There are little springs just inside here, so that once you press it down, it sort of activates the springs, and you literally just need that pressure in the middle. Great if you've got sort of problems with hands and things like that. It's very, very simple to use. And as I say, different sizes depending on what kind of size stamp you're using. So that was the stamping platform and the mat, which, as I say, these two particular ones are in our starter kit for you. So I'm just going to clean that ink, just rub off there. And I get asked a lot about what I use to clean my stamps with, and there are all sorts of products out there that you can buy, but to be honest, I just usually give them a little rub with a dry smooth cloth just to take away any excess ink, and that's all they get. I don't do much more to it than that. The other one that we've got, again, we've put some of these in that starter kit for you, are the rocker blocks. Now these were actually designed before we brought the stamping platforms in, and again sort of revolutionised the way people stamped. I get in classes, I got all the time people say, I can't stamp, I'm no good at stamping. And what I would say to you is it's not you. It's about what equipment you choose to use. So again, if we take one of those stamps again, we'll take the butterfly this time. The rocker blocks are made with two what we call heels on the side here. And you can see you've got sort of that rounded piece here. If I just lift it up, you can see the shape of it there at the top where it's got that sort of curve. So one on each edge here. And that's the bit that's going to make contact with the card. There's actually a gap underneath for your stamp to fit in. So all I would do this time is actually position my stamp where I wanted it on the rocker block, and it's got a crosshair on to make sure, you know, if you're wanting to line things up and get them straight, pop that in the middle there. Just cling to it just the same. And then again, you would ink up your chosen stamp. Just gentle tapping there. I'll talk about the different types of ink in a second. And take your cardstock again, and this time move your fingers to the center of it, and then the minute you put it down on here, nothing's that you can see. That's brilliant. You can see under there that the stamp's not actually touching the card yet, but these two heels here and here are. So what I'm actually going to do is rock on those heels with my fingers in the middle to add the pressure sort of evenly in the middle, just literally pressing onto it. Rock it forwards on those heels and rock it off the other side. And again, you get that beautiful impression.
So is it fair to say these are better for bigger stamps then?
Well, we do these in all different sizes. There is a little tiny one, so you can use them for sentiments just the same. It's all about preference. And what we've done with the starter kit is give you the different things to try. So if you've not sort of done any stamping, or you fancy having a go, or maybe you've not had a lot of success with stamping yet, by trying the different ways, and I always say to people when I'm teaching, try all the different ones and then you can choose which one suits you best. You might not get on with this, you might love the stamping platform, you might not like the stamping platform. Some people swear by the rocker blocks. Again, it's all individual taste. There's no right or wrong, there's no one better than the other. Certain things are better for certain purposes, which I'll go through when we do the demos later. But again, just try them and see which actually work best. These actually come in different sizes, Joe, so that you can choose one appropriate to your project. But to be honest, I tend to use this size pretty much for everything. Even if I'm just doing a sentiment, this is my go-to one, which comes as part of the set.
Awesome.
Now, you can actually come the other way. I know if you watch Sarah stamping, she prefers to put the back of the rocker block down first and actually stamp towards herself and lift off at the front. Exactly the same process. So forwards to the front, from the front to the back, whichever way. Again, try both and see which you feel more comfortable with. You'll get the same outcome. So that's your rocker block. So I'm going to just pop him off there for a second because I need to borrow the actual stamp. And then lastly, but not leastly, and you've heard me talk about this so many times, this is one of my favourite pieces of equipment. And this is the magnetic stamping platform. So we've taken it on from having the actual platform, which is same as the little mini one. It's just been upgraded in size. So it's the same technology. It's got the little spring feet on it again, but we've included with it this time a magnetic base with the magnets on. Now this opens up a whole new world of being able to overstamp. So if you're actually not 100% with stamps, and maybe you've used, you know, sort of a different sort of technique, whether it be an acrylic block or a rocker block, and you're not getting a complete image with it, this allows you to actually overstamp in exactly the same place. And it will come in handy for things like the rotation stamps that we've got on later, which I'm going to talk you through how to set up on the magnetic platform. And I've been pestering the girls, can we have it on the show? Can we have it on the show? They said, it's not in stock, Jan, it's not in stock. As soon as it came back in stock, we've got it on the show for you today. So how this one works, I'm just going to cut a piece of cardstock off that side of there. And again, it's got the grid on the bottom. So all I tend to do is make sure that I'm lined up with one of the lines on the grid there, and then the magnets hold your cardstock in place. Okay, now I'm going to take that other stamp this time, that lovely floral one, because we're sort of getting a bit bigger as we go along. Take this one off. And again, decide whereabouts you want your stamp, how you want it to lay, whether you want it sort of at an angle, however you want it to be, whether you wanted it to be in a corner because you want to put a message on it, wherever. So just decide where you want it to go and then pop your top piece on, making sure that the spring elements on the platform are underneath. It'll not be the first time that I've had it upside down and wondered why it wasn't working. But yeah, we need the springs underneath, the bouncy bits. Just fits in nicely on there. And then we're going to press that down, and what it'll do is pick up your stamp. So it's now in position where you wanted it. Again, take your ink to the stamp, and if it's a larger stamp, I tend to sort of just smoosh it across the whole thing so that I can see where I'm going, and then always add that tapping action. It just encourages your ink pad to release the ink. But make sure you've got a good coverage on there, and I'm deliberately going to try and miss a bit, Joe.
Okie doke.
Deliberately. That's not as easy said and done. When you've got the right equipment to do it properly, it's not easy to actually miss a bit, but I'm going to press down. All right, and I'm just going to press over certain areas. I want a little bit of it, hopefully not to print. All right, so it's not necessarily saying that it's not doing the job, but I deliberately didn't press this bit down here. Can you see how it's missed a bit? So if you've experienced this when you're stamping, I can actually still see that there is ink on my stamp there. So even before I ink again, if I actually take that excess ink off there, and there was a little bit at the bottom here, you should be able to see how it's filled it in just with that first application. But if for any reason, you know, you'd not noticed and your stamp had dried, what you can do then is ink the whole thing up again, and you have the knowledge that this particular system is going to put your stamp back in exactly the same
You
place.
like a double stamp as well, don't you?
I do, yeah. Even if it's got all the image, Joe, I do like to do it twice because it sort of adds depth to it. So you're building up that ink, and with the black, if you want a really nice solid black outline, you can see how it sort of really brings it out. If you're wanting it to be less depth of colour, then just the one's quite enough. But I do like to see that external line art on my stamps, but it's gone exactly over the top. Didn't have to worry about anything moving. And you've got a really, really nice image to work with there. So that's your stamping platform, and I'm going to use this again in a couple of the demos for different reasons. One of them's the rotation stamp, which means we can turn that stamp round. And another one, I'm going to do the over stamping again to do some heat embossing. So we'll use this a couple of times, and then I'll try and use the rocker block in one of the demos and try and use the little stamping platform in one of the demos.
Okie doke.
So just quickly then, we'll just cover inks and cardstock really quickly then, because the main two bits are the stamps. So what I've done is I've chosen 3 of our most popular inks here. So the Finesse range is actually our stamping ink, and it's been made specifically for stamping with. And we've either got the one that has the alcohol marker on it, which says it's alcohol proof. So that means if your chosen colouring medium is anything to do with alcohol markers, whether it be the Classics, the Illustrators, whatever it is you've chosen to use, the tri-blends, this is the ink pad to stamp with. What you want to do is make sure that your line art stays in place and that it doesn't smudge when you start colouring. So we need the one with the alcohol pen. If you prefer to watercolour and you're using things like our aqua markers, or you might want to use the aqua blend pencils or sparkle inks or aqua tints, anything like that that's liquid and water based, you need the one with the water brush on. So it's still a Finesse ink pad, but this time it says it's waterproof as opposed to alcohol proof, and we put the paintbrush on it just to give you a little reminder there. And again, that means that your ink is going to stay in place on your line art and not move when you add anything that's got water to it. So the main two, and those both come in 4 different colours. So you'll always get a black in there. There is what we call Flagstone, which is a grey, which is the one I use more than anything. And then there are 2 shades of brown in there. And then the third one I've picked up is our watermark ink. And again, you've seen us using this one.
Is this
when
your
we've
one,
been
Jan?
adding. Pardon?
Is this your one?
No, it's not. It's actually from here, Joe, and I dare take the lid off.
Jan!
Did you see then?
Oh, so mucky.
I just asked Tracy if I could borrow one because I've not picked mine up, and I was like, oh my goodness, look at that.
Oh, that should be, if you've not seen this
should
before,
be
it should be clear and white.
It
that
should,
pad.
yes. It should, yes. It should sort of be all clear. And it is just a clear, sticky ink. My producer's saying, are you disgusted with it? They do get dirty. They start out nice, but with the best interests at heart, they do get dirty. And obviously when we're demoing, you can't always be as careful as you would be at home. But yeah, this is actually meant to be a clear ink. So that and it's really, really sticky, so that when you want to use, for example, a nice gold embossing powder or a coloured embossing powder, it will stick to the ink. So if, for example, we had stamped our sentiment in in that sticky ink and then added embossing powder and heat embossed it, it allows that to stick to it. Now I tend to use this one if I'm using a coloured embossing powder. What we're actually going to do later is use a black ink, and we're going to use the clear embossing powder in one of the demos, and I'll explain why I like to do that when we get to it. So that's the inks. Last bit that you need is what you're going to stamp onto, and that is just as important as all the other elements in there. Now we've popped stamping card in your pack because it's probably the most versatile. Okay, really is sort of useful. We call it stamping card, but I want them to change it to all-purpose card because it's good for making, it's a good enough weight. It's 300 GSM for making your card blanks with. It die cuts beautifully, but it is also a nice smooth surface if you're wanting to stamp and use your alcohol inks or your coloured pencils, anything like that. If you're wanting to blend inks to make a background on it, it works. Absolutely beautiful. The other smooth one that we do is the one that I was using at the beginning, and that's our Nina cardstock. And this is a little bit thinner, but again, you've got that lovely smooth surface there. Not so much if you're wanting to do water techniques. With it being thinner, it sort of buckles a little bit more. I would stick with the stamping card, or thirdly, the watercolour paper. And again, if you're wanting to add water to your techniques, or if you're working with things like aqua tints or sparkle inks, the watercolour card is designed to be more absorbent, so it will take a lot of sort of pressure from anything that's liquid. To stamp on, works beautifully. The difference is it's got a very, very slight pitted surface on it. Don't know whether we can see that on the camera. It's hard to show on the white card. It's just got, it just looks like a very, very faint sort of orange peel surface on it.
I can just about see it there,
yeah, just about pick it up, whereas the other two are smooth. So for things like alcohol inks, I wouldn't recommend the watercolour card. It's too absorbent. The reason we use a smooth card is to keep that alcohol ink on top to be able to move it round and blend it. Whereas when we're using inks and watercolour, you actually want them to be able to soak in so that you can do those techniques. So those are the three that I tend to have at the ready in my stash. The watercolour paper, cardstock, the stamping card and the Nina card all have their own sort of use when you come to your stamping. So we've talked about the different types of stamps, we've talked about the different types of platforms, the inks and the actual cardstock or paper that you're going to use. And that is your basics of actually stamping. There are lots and lots of other things that you can do with them, which you've seen us do in previous demos. I'm going to try and show you some different techniques as we go through the rest of the products that we've got on the show with the demos. But basically that is sort of your very, very sort of introductory level to how, and those four things are key to your results. So again, when I get people saying to me that I'm no good at stamping, the first thing I would be asking is about these four products. What stamp are you using? What platform are you using? What ink are you using? And in particular, what card? Because this can make a massive difference. If you're stamping onto the wrong card, the ink doesn't behave how it should do. When you come to use your colouring medium, it doesn't behave how it should do. And it just opens it up for then you thinking that you're rubbish at stamping. And it's not you, it's actually the products that you're using.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Yeah, so make sure you're getting the right products, essentially. But yeah, everything has its place in its job. Loads of people chatting with us today, Jan, which is always lovely. Karen saying good morning. Jan, you look lovely today on Mother's Day. Brenda says, Jan is one of the best teachers around. Big fan. Aisha saying, ready for my lesson with Jan at the computer and taking notes as well. Val's looking forward to the lesson as well. Hadassah is saving the show. She's going to come back and refer back to it at a later date. That's always a good thing to do. Maya asked then, so are all Crafters Companion stamps photopolymer, is what Maya wants to know.
No, they're not all. Some of them are photopolymer. These are both Crafters Companion sets. The actual fresh florals that I stamp the flowers out with is a photopolymer one. And then the other one in the set with the butterfly in is an acrylic set. And then there is a third set that's got some sentiments on as well.
Awesome. So in this start kit, actually, you get 2 acrylic stamps and 1 photopolymer stamp as well.
I think
so
it's this one, isn't it, that's in with it? The Enjoy Your Day, I believe.
Oh, yeah, that's one in there, yeah.
Yeah. And these are acrylic as well.
Awesome.
Yep. But they all behave the same. It's just an awareness of sort of what the difference is really. You'll still get the same outcome with them if you follow those guidelines.
Awesome.
Okay.
Will says you can't beat the smell of a freshly opened photopolymer stamp.
Yeah.
There you are. Karen says she's learning so much, so thank you. Glennis saying how much she loves these shows. Caroline saying how great a teacher Jan is. Zena says she uses all three as well. She uses the blocks, the stamping board and the rubber blocks. So she has 2 or 3 different stamping platform sets as well. Rosalind just saying she just got her 8x8 platform. It is back in stock. The platform, along with the magnetic base, I didn't touch that, you saw it. I was nowhere near that, for the record. I think I might have bashed this down a bit quickly. The 8x8 platform is available. It's back in stock, $22.49 or $26.99. I know a lot of you have been waiting for this. You get the 8x8 platform and the magnetic base in there as well. It's such a handy tool to have. Donna Walker says, love these classes, learning so much. Anne says how much she loves the magnetic platform base as well. She says it comes out perfect first time, which seems to happen a lot for me, which is awesome. Lynn says she rarely did any stamping until she purchased the rocker blocks when Sarah first bought them out, and then I stamped more. Then the stamping platform came out and I got that. Now I only ever use the rocker blocks or the stamping platform. Adriana's recently got the platform. She loves it. Sue says I have all sizes of the rocker blocks and the acrylic blocks, but love using the platform the best. Lesp55 says, do we need to prime stamps before we use them, Jan?
That's a good question. Excellent question. Yes, I didn't touch on that. Let me just quickly just show you what I mean on here. When they're new, the stamps actually have like a coating on the back of them. So a couple of ways of doing it. One way is to use some sticky tape. So just normal on the roll, what you would use to put a parcel together with. Not the low tack tape, it wants to be sticky. Run it over the back, pull it off, over the back, pull it off as many times as you want, and you'll see the residue on the sticky tape come off, and it makes it more acceptable of your ink. The way that I prefer to do it, and this is possibly one of the ways why the ink pads get dirty, is to prime it with a clear ink first, straight from the packet onto the stamp, and then use your coloured ink over the top. And the sticky ink attracts the coloured ink, and you'll get a perfect image from it, whether it's new or otherwise.
Fantastic.
Okay.
Very, very simple. So that's all the basics covered. If there's anything you are unsure of, anything you still want to know, any burning questions you get them into me. Crafters TV over on Facebook or Crafters Companion on YouTube. Let's have a little look again at that starter collection though, because it is such a fantastic kit. You're going to get 2 sets of acrylic stamps in here. You're going to get beautiful you, and you're going to enjoy your day in there as well. There is a third. Is this the third one? It's the flesh florals. No, not those. Fresh florals, not flesh florals, totally different thing. That's coming in there, the photopolymer stamp as well. You're going to get this. Oh, that's the one there.
That's the flowers that are stamped
the flowers
out.
there.
It's fresh florals, yeah.
Brilliant. That's what you just saw
So
Jan
that one's
using.
in there as well.
You are also going to get the rocker blocks in here. You're going to get the 4x4 platform and the stamping mat too, as well as the white stamping card. £40 or $60 if you want to get hold of all of that. And it really is the ultimate starter kit for you. Right, we've also got some pigment ink pads available for you on the show. Different collections. Pigment ones are those stickier ones, which is going to be great for things like your heat embossing. And you've got a great selection of colours in here too. So you've got the lemon tonic, you've got the orange here, the crushed velvet, the grasshopper, the pink tulip, and you've got the Bordeaux in there as well. The great thing about this is you've got a great deal on these, considering you're only buying 6. This kind of saving, 20%, you'd normally have to buy about 13 of them to get this saving. For Platinum members, it works out $26.69, which is just over £3, just under $4.50 per ink pad, which is great value for money. Now, we also have some quick dry ink pads available for you on the show as well. These are also fantastic. In here, you're going to get Spring Meadow, Straw Bale, Ocean Blue, the Midnight, Plum Jam, and the Lagoon as well. So again, 6 awesome ink pads for you there, $23.95 or $33.36, which is fantastic. We then have for you the alcohol-proof ink pad collection. Now these ones are the ones you're going to want to go for if you love your alcohol colouring medium. So things like your tri-blend brush pens, your illustrators, your classics. This is what you're going to use when you're using them. You've got the Pebble, the Flagstone, the Rustic, and the Noir Black in there. £16.96 or $23.63 if you want to get hold of those ones. And then finally, we've got the watercolour collection for you as as well. So any sort of medium you like to use where you're adding water. So think about your sparklings, your aquablend pencils, your aqua markers, your tricolour aqua markers. This is what you're going to want to use for those. You've got the Flagstone, the Noir Black, and also the Pebble. What I would say as well is we've got a special promotion running over on the website at the moment as well. Spend £25 or $25, save £5 or dollars when you're buying Spectrum Noir products. Now you just need to make sure that it's £25 or dollars after your club discount has come off, and then you will get that extra discount. Details are there along the bottom of the screen for you, which is fantastic. So do take advantage of that. Keep getting your questions into me. We'll do another little Q&A with Jan in just a second. But before we do that, we've had a very special message in. Now, as you know, it is Mother's Day here in the UK, and someone sent us a little message for Jan. Take a look at this.
Hi Mum. Happy Mother's Day. Sorry we're not seeing you today, but we are watching. Thank you for always being there for us and for everything you do. You really are the best mum. And you know what they say about the best ones? They get promoted. We love you lots. And so does Toby Bear. Say bye, Toby. No, say bye, Nana.
Ah, how lovely is that? So that was your two daughters and your little grandson.
That's
there,
my babies and my grandbaby, yes. Made me cry now.
Oh, they are adorable.
And I didn't put my waterproof mascara on either.
Oh, Jan, I'm so sorry.
Oh my days, bless them.
They really look like you.
The youngest
Both of them.
one, the younger one with the dark hair, honestly, I used to go to parents' evening at school. And they used to say to me, oh, we don't need to ask who you're here for. It's like a mini-me. And my eldest daughter was platinum blonde when she was younger, like the little one.
Right.
But it's gone darker over the years. But it was really blonde, just like Toby's hair is at the minute, yeah. So that was lovely. What a gorgeous surprise.
Yeah, so lovely.
Who's
so nice
been busy tinkering in the background there? Yes, they kept that one quiet.
Yeah, I think Bernie Corner might have had a hand in that as well.
Her.
You know.
Thank you. That was lovely.
So lovely to see Jan's children and little. He's so cute, isn't he?
Oh, he's adorable.
So
bless
cute.
him.
Right,
Yeah.
I'm going to give you a minute to.
I'm leaking.
She's got the tissue out the bra. We're good to go.
I did.
Right, let me. Let me move on to the floral words for you now. These are fantastic because these are great for stamping, but they're also wonderful if you do love still using some of your colouring mediums in here as well. So this one here, you've got lots of different words included. So you've got friend, you've also got thanks in there as well. And we have sorry, which are these ones just here. You've got enjoy, congrats. You've also got mum. And you're going to get hello. There's loads in this one, as well as sister. So there's lots and lots and lots in there for you. It is right at the price. It's a half price deal, which is absolutely amazing. So there should be $39.92 is what you should be looking at, or $55.92. But it's a half price deal. You're all going to get a bit of extra discount on top of that as well, because of course all of you are in Club Inspire somewhere, so you're going to get a better than half price deal, which I think is absolutely awesome. And they are great. What I love about them is the size. So if you do want to batch make some cards, you're not really going to have to add much to that before you've got a full project that is ready to go, which is fantastic. Yes, any more questions that you've got, please keep getting them into me. But I know Jan's got lots that she wants to share with us. She's composed herself now, Jan. You're good
I think
to go.
so, just about, yeah. I wasn't expecting that at all, my goodness, yeah, because I saw them both yesterday briefly and said hello, and they brought some gifts and things. I wasn't expecting that at all, and I'm the biggest mush out there. It doesn't take much to make me cry, honestly. I was like, oh my goodness,
so
I'm going to have big black streaks down my face. But no, I'm good. I've got my fan on and it's all blowing, we're good. So right, what I thought I'd start out with it is sort of what I call reasonably basic stamping. We're literally going to put the stamp on a rocker block, we're going to stamp it out, and then I've just got a couple of little tricks to show you. So seeing as it was Mother's Day, I thought we'd use the mum one out of that collection. These are absolutely gorgeous. Pretty much sort of something to fit most occasions. This has got those lovely daffodils sort of built into the design, and they are a decent size as well. When you actually look at the stamp itself, let me just pop this onto some white card. You can see there that you've got a good size. It's not just a little stamp, it is actually a focal point. You've got the words interwoven in between the flowers. So this particular one, again, thought I'd try something different today. I know a lot of us we've already given gifts for Mother's Day, but I know you guys over stateside have got Mother's Day coming up earlier. One of our lovely members messaged me earlier from Germany to say that theirs is in May, I think she said, so lots of different times out the year. So still some ideas. So what I've done, and I think this is still on our Get It deal. Have we still got the scoreboards and the
we do, yeah, your last day to get that actually.
So I've used my envelope box maker to make myself a nice envelope. And I've just chosen some paper out of one of the paper pads, and I'm actually going to do this. If you're watching later on, you'll see how we put some of these together on Second Chance Sunday. But I've actually put the envelope together, literally got room inside there to pop something in. And what we're going to do is we're going to stamp that beautiful stamp on the front of it rather than just writing on the front of the envelope. So I'm going to bring in my stamping mat that's in that kit. I'm going to pop the piece that we're going to work on to here, and then we need the actual stamp itself. And these are photopolymer again, so you've got that little bit of weight to them, even though they're still nice and flexible. And then I'm going to bring in, oops, I've just thrown something on the floor, there we go. Bring in our rocker block. And again, they've got that crosshair on, so that if it's lettering and things like that, you know, you can use the line there. I'm looking through the stamp to sort of get it pretty much centered. So I've got that center line going through the U at the middle, and then I'm looking at around about halfway down the lettering, just to give me an idea that it's straight to start with. Okay, just on there, brilliant. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to stamp this out in black. So it doesn't really matter at this moment in time which one I use, other than if you're going to start colouring those flowers in, think about your colouring medium. Now, I've actually done some of the colouring work earlier, and I use my alcohol markers, so I'm picking up my alcohol proof ink. Okay, if you wanted to colour the flowers in with, say, your aqua markers, then you'd be better off with the Finesse waterproof one with the water brush on. So always go with what the picture tells you. All right, so just for the purposes of this, I'm going to use my my alcohol, and again, just when it's a larger area stamp, I tend to just rub it over so that I can see, you can see much better now where that stamp is, but then always give it that tapping motion as well. Make sure you get a really good covering of ink, and the beauty with the rocker blocks is if you get any ink on the surrounding area, it won't transfer. I promise it won't transfer. The only bit you need to keep clear are those two heels that we mentioned at either side. So I will deliberately put some ink there on my my block as if I've caught it, which I often do because I'm very heavy-handed with ink. And then literally decide whereabouts you want it on there. So I'm actually going to line up the bottom of my rocker block here with the bottom edge of my paper here. And literally, George has just said, have you done them the same size? And they are near enough, and that was pure accident, honestly. Literally, bring it. The one tip I can give you with a rocker block is not to leave your hands at the edge. If you bring your fingers into the middle, it distributes that pressure. And then rock and press. If you want to give it a press in the middle, you can, but just rock and press until it comes off the other side of your page, and you get that beautiful image transferred from your rocker block. And you can see where I had that big smudge there, it's not transferred any onto my my page. So then at that point you could take your alcohol pens and you could transfer that colour onto here. But because this is on a patterned paper, I just thought it's not going to show up very well. So what I did was stamp it a second time, just onto some, I used the Nina cardstock. So I've just stamped the stamp out again, and then coloured those pieces in that are the daffodils with my alcohol markers there. I think I've used one of the golden yellows with a little tiny bit of orange in there, just to create some depth there. And then just sat and fussy cut those out. So all around the edges of them in the stamp, I've got a little bit for each area. Now I've popped them through our sticky Xyron machine, but if you don't have a Xyron, you've got access to your tacky glue there, which I would suggest would probably be your best way of attaching them. And what I would do is, rather than try and stick the back of the flowers, I would put the glue straight onto your project here, and then you can see where you're going with it. But because this one's already sticky, I just need to work out which way round we are. And I'm going to pop these straight over the top here, and these will line up with what I've stamped underneath, just to give. And I thought the lilac and the lemon was very sort of spring colours there, So we've got this one that's part open. So let's just put that one on there. And then we've got the one that comes down this side of the U. And all I've done is literally gone round these with my little snips and just cut right up to the black line. I've not left anything showing. I didn't want any edge around them because I wanted them to line up over that stamped image. So we've got one piece to go around the other side of there.
This is really effective. I love this.
And then just that little, even that little tiny bit that fit under there, look. And it's just a nice way of actually decorating, you know. I mean, you might have made a lovely card to go in there, but this is just an extra way of adding a bit of detail. And then all I've done is use one of my, I do this an awful lot, one of my fine liner, black fine liner pens, and I've just drawn a border around just to frame it around the outside. So it just makes your envelope just as special as what you're actually putting inside. Could have been a card inside, it could be a nice gift voucher inside for somewhere when we get opened up, you know, sort of after all these restrictions. Just as a nice gift, you know, for mum or for anybody else. You know, you've got sister in that pack. It could just be a thank you gift, just a different way of using it rather than putting it on the front of a card. So yeah, there's your envelope for you, just in those lovely spring colours.
Awesome, absolutely beautiful and really effective. I've never seen that done before, Jan. I think it's really, really awesome. Let me run you back through what you're getting in that collection there. Remember, it's a half price deal, which is absolutely fantastic. These have been very, very popular since we launched them. So you're going to receive Friend. And then you've also got Thanks in here, which is that one just there. We've got Hello, as you can see there, all with those different styles of flowers in there too. You've got Sorry there, and then we have Enjoy, Congrats, we've got Mum, which is the one that Jan just showed you there, and then we also have Hello and Sister as well. $19.95 or $27.95 if you want to get your hands on those. Don't forget, the perfect starting point for anyone that is a new stamper out there is definitely that starter kit, because you've got 2 acrylic stamps in there. You're also going to get the photopolymer stamp that you saw Jan using a little earlier. Rocker blocks, a stamping mat, you've got a stamping platform, the perfect cardstock for most of your stamping, and you're also going to get the Finesse alcohol proof ink pad in there too, which is brilliant, and a nice saving for you. $15.92 or $19.68 is what you are saving there in that one. Now, another one of the brands that we bring to you here at Crafters TV, of course, is from the lovely Sharon Callis, who is a very, very talented illustrator from Ireland. This is one of her latest collections that we've got for you, and these are lovely. These are brilliant. I just think the fonts that you've got on here and the embellishing items are super cute. So this one here is Friendship. Then you also have Happiness. We also have From the Heart. This one here is Laughter, and then you've got Wonderful and also Beautiful in there too. A really lovely collection with a great saving on there for you as well. $31.96 or $39.80 is your price to get your hands on all of those. I haven't seen these before, so I'm really keen to see what Jan does this. I haven't actually got my hands on those ones. Don't forget also about some slight showtime changes over the next couple of weeks for a lot of you guys over in the US that are observing the daylight saving times. So what's happened is our shows for East Coasters, they have slipped back by an hour. It'll only be for the next couple of weeks until we adopt our daylight saving here in the UK. What it means is that midday show is now at 8 AM rather than 7 AM. The 3 PM show is at 11 AM rather than 10 AM. And that 7 PM show, that's coming up for you at 3 PM rather than 2 PM. And that will stay that way until 2 weeks today. And then 2 weeks today will be the first day it all slips back to normal, which is fantastic. Lots of questions still coming in. A lot of talk about, Sue Hints wants to know best way to store the stamps and then to store her ink pads as well. And she says with both of them, do you store them right way up or upside down, Jan?
There was a lot of talk when I first started stamping about storing ink pads upside down so that it brought the ink to the surface of the ink pad. Now since then I've heard that it's not necessary, and a lot of it depends on how your ink pads are made, and I know the Spectrum Noir range is made in a way that it won't make any difference, and the best way of actually storing these is on our storage trays that come with them, and that's what I have. I've got a set for my water reactive, I've got a set of trays for my pigment inks, and I've got a set of A's for my quick dry, and they all stand on my desk so that they're in easy reach because there's something that I use all the time. If you haven't got a set of storage trays, you can get them on the website. If not, I mean, before I started, I just used to have all mine stacked. They've all got the little colour band on the end, so you can see there that, you know, you've got a green, you've got an orange, and you've got a yellow one there. So you can just stack them up on your desk, but I would always have them in easy reach because there's something that, well, I know I go to all the time. Was there a second part to that question, Joe, about how to store
about
them?
the stamps
and
as well.
The stamps, yeah. Again, different viewpoints on this. We do binders that you can actually store your stamps in, so those gorgeous purple binders that come with like it's an acrylic, isn't it? Coated sheet that goes in them, and the acrylic stamps just stick to them. I would always keep, if I just show you the one that I'm about to demo, they always come, your stamps, with what we call like that protective layer on, and it's not just to cover the stamp, it's actually to help with the light getting to the stamp. So I would always keep them like this unless you're going to take that piece off and actually stick them to one of those pages in the binders, which will actually protect it as well. The other things that stamps don't like is sunlight. Particularly rubber stamps and the acrylic versions. So I mean, I have to be very, very careful with mine because I know, as a lot of you have heard me say, I craft in my conservatory, get very extreme temperatures, so very cold over here in the UK in the winter. It can get very warm in the summer, especially when you're sat in what is effectively a greenhouse.
That's the hope, that it gets cold in the summer.
Yeah, so it is a case of, I always keep mine out of sight. I would never leave them out on my desk where the sunlight's coming through. They're always actually packed away in a box into one of my shelving units, and I tend to keep mine in the packaging upright in a box, several boxes, so that I can flick through them, and I have them in categories. So sometimes they're kept within collections, particularly with demoing, we need to be able to access things that are in collections. But if you're not demoing like we are, you might want to put this one, for example, it could either be in a sentiment section, or you could have it in a heart section, or you could even cross-reference it to music in that one. So again, I know some people have them in and they'll have dividers in that say sentiments, birthday stamps, I don't know, animal stamps, things like that, bird stamps, butterfly stamps, edge stamps, things like that. So lots of different ways. The best thing I would say, if you're stuck for anything like that, is to have a look on somewhere like YouTube and just put in stamp storage, and there are loads and loads of ideas about how you can store your craft products on there. Yeah.
Awesome. Becky wants to know, what's the best black ink to stamp a sentiment with?
Sentiments, your finesse ink pads are made for stamping sentiments. So they're really crisp ink in there, perfect. And if it's just a sentiment, it doesn't matter which one you use. We do the black in the waterproof one. It's the Noir black in the, but in both of them. And it is a really, really good crisp, sort of forgetting fine detail, which is where your finesse range comes from, yeah.
Awesome. One last question as well. Sheila would like to know, how do you get dried waterproof ink off of your stamping platform?
Dried waterproof ink would probably need some kind of cleaner. So if it's waterproof ink, it means it's solvent based. So you want something that's going to get solvent off. Now you can buy specific cleaners out there on the market, but things like white spirit would probably do the same job. Just be careful that you're in a sort of ventilated room if you're opening something like that. But just pop it on. The other thing that's really, really good for getting anything like that off is our spray products, our stick away, and this again, it wants using in a ventilated area, but spray it on, give it a second or two to do its job, and honestly this will actually emulsify gilding wax. So it's a doddle when it comes to things like solvent-based ink. So spray it on, leave it for 30 seconds or so, and then just take it off with either a damp cloth or a piece of kitchen paper or a baby wipe, something like that. But just be careful, as I say, when you're spraying anything like this that's got an accelerant in it, that you're in a ventilated room and you're not inhaling the fumes from it.
Awesome. Any more questions you've got, keep getting them into me. Christine says she loves the names that we gave to the ink pads. Katie says your children are absolutely beautiful, as are you, Jan. Thank you so much for spending time with us on this special day. Sue says she loves how well Jan is explaining all the different ways to use the different platforms, and the inks is really informative. Mary loves that paper piecing demonstration that you did. And Gloria says, I have all the complete stamp collection. It is great to learn how to use all of these wonderful products. So thank you very much. Right, Jan, I know you've got loads more you want to inspire us with. So what are we looking at next?
Right, we're going to move on, and this is one of my favourite techniques. It never really gets, well, a couple of favourite techniques actually, but we're going to have a look at heat embossing, which is a natural progression when you've actually stamped something that is just an ink on card. The next sort of step from there is to stamp it and heat emboss it, to actually add some embossing powder to it. Now, what I didn't check, I'm just going to plug my heat tool in a second, because I can see the actual plug there, so I'll do that in a second. But what I'm going to use is these gorgeous stamps from Sharon. They really are pretty, and I'm going to use the From the Heart one. That one just sort of grabbed me. I love the design on all of them, but I particularly like this one, and it's got that music element to it as well. So taking it out, so we're back to our photopolymer again, which look just like they are a version of an acrylic stamp. They're just a bit more robust. They've got a little bit sort of longer shelf life and things like that. As long as you look after them, then they should last you a lifetime. There's no reason why they should damage at all. So again, it's got that carrier sheet on the back, and I always keep hold of that. Don't like to lose that one. And I'm going to take this larger element off the back here. So you can see again, it's a decent size there. If I put that on my hand, it's a really nice size, and this is going to be the focal point on the front of the cardigan. I like using sentiments as sort of focal points. Sometimes we get lost in that it's got to have a sentiment on it. You know, we always sort of, where we're going to put it, is it going to cover something up? Make the sentiment the focal point, and you've got a real showstopper on your cards. So I'm going to use the stamping platform for this one, the magnetic one, because I want to over stamp. And this is something that's just personal to me. It's not necessary, but this is how I like to work with it. Just before I actually pop that on there, I'm going to show you my background. I actually did a little bit of playing at home with this, and I've used, again, I chose some of the colours that are in that selection that we put together here, but these are our pigment inks. So these are quite sticky, and they're meant for embossing, but I've actually used them to create my background with here. So I've used Grasshopper out of that collection, I've used the orange one, and I've used the Lemon Tonic just to make a really nice sort of bright background. And this was done purely by popping the ink onto the mat, and I will do this one of these days. I always end up realise that I talk you through this bit, and then I use my, I've not popped it in there, but my spritzer with the water in, and literally just mop up the ink, and you get this kind of result. And then once it's dry, I normally go in with my sponge applicators as well, and just sort of highlight any areas that are wanting a little bit of extra colour there, and I like to make sure that the edges are coloured as well. So that's how we arrived at that piece. And then I've actually used part of the, this part of the stamp here. I've stamped a piece for inside already using that piece, and I just think that black looks terrific on the coloured background. Matted and layered it on some Centura Pearl that pulls out that green, and this is the Pistachio Centura Pearl. And I've just used that one in its entirety there, but don't be afraid to use parts of your stamp. So you can see here, I've literally just used the edge of it to create myself a corner on two of the opposite corners. So it is literally just that bottom section of that piece that we've used in its entirety just to create those little elements. Okay, so then what we're going to do is we're going to come back to our platform there, and again just pop this into place. So decide whereabouts you want it and pop it onto here. The magnets are brilliant. They just hold everything in place. And then again, I normally place this face down. So this is the right side of the stamp. I'm going to turn it face down, and then you can play around with wherever you want it on your cardstock. So in this instance, I want it sort of fairly central, and I don't know whether to, I think I'm going to have it so that it says, you make my heart sing. So I think the smaller wording I'm going to go for straight, and then have this bit in the middle, or do I want the heart? Oh, now then, choices.
Ooh.
No, I think
Do
I'm
you
going to
want
have
a
it
wonky
as a
heart
slight
or a wonky
angle,
sentiment?
like that, yeah, so that the sentiment's just slightly at an angle. So once you've decided where it is, I've sort of tried to make it even. Again, make sure you've got that underneath side. This is probably the biggest learning element, because the number of times I've put it down this way and picked it up on the front of the platform, it does want to be on the side that's got those little springy feet, which is your underneath. So your crafter's companion symbol here will always read correctly if you've got it the right way up.
Awesome.
Okay, so pop it on there, give it a press, and it'll pick up that stamp from underneath there. Okay, now then, this is the bit where it's a sort of personal thing to me. I'm going to heat emboss, so I want my nice sticky black ink, and I prefer to ink up in a colour and then use my clear embossing powder over the colour. Okay, so I've got my pigment ink there, sorry, get them the right way around, opaque pigment ink, which is the sticky one. And I've also got my quick dry black ink as well.
So is it safe to say that the pigment is basically like the watermark one, but with
pigment in? And pigment is a natural colouring, so it's been coloured, you know, with natural elements to get the colours. Now, the opaque pigment, I don't find the black as dark as what I personally like. So I tend to start off with my quick dry, which is really black, and build up a couple of layers with that, and then put this one on last to add the stickiness to put the embossing powder on. And this is just personal to me. You'll see Leanne do it differently, you'll see Sarah do it differently, all the guys on the team, you know, you could still use your watermark over the top. It's a good question, Georgina's just asking my ear, but again, that's where they tend to get a bit dirty, because you're going on one that you've been using the black. So, quick dry first, and I'm going to do light taps with the quick dry. The difference in the inks in the way that these are made is the quick dry are on a sponge pad, as opposed to the others being on the normal inks. The finesse inks are on a felt pad, and the pigment inks are on more of like a, it's like a cross between the two. Right, on that one. So this one, if you press it down hard, you're going to get a real big splodge of ink everywhere. So just gentle, what I call kissing your stamp. You want to just touch it. All right. Now, Georgina, she's got some good questions for me this afternoon,
full of questions
Jill.
today, isn't she?
She's asking my ear there. That's really good. How quick do you have to be when it's a quick dry? It's a really good question. While it's on a non-porous surface, it will stay damp. Okay, so whenever it's on my ink pad and on my stamp, it will stay damp for quite a while. Once it hits a non-porous surface like the cardstock, it dries instantly. Awesome. And I mean instantly. So what I'm going to do is the first one, we're going to pop that on there, get the feet lined up and literally just press. Okay, and you can see where I've got a little bit of ink on the background, but that's not going to make contact because it's lower down than the rest of the stamp. And what I'm going to do here, just to prove what I mean, if you haven't seen this before, take that off and literally, that's awesome. What I mean by quick dry. As soon as it hits that surface. Call it
instant dry.
Instant.
It's that quick.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to do the same again because I want it to be a bit darker. So I'm going to use that quick dry one a second time. Okay, and just remind me, I've not plugged my heat tool in yet. I need to plug that in, otherwise we're not going to have any heat.
Don't forget to plug your heat tool in, Jan.
Right, so straight again, and the beauty of this platform is that confidence in knowing that this is going to go straight over the top.
So this one's the pigment one?
No, this is still quick dry.
Right.
I do 2 layers of quick dry to build up that depth. You see how black it's getting? Nice. And then I'm going to put that one aside and bring up my opaque pigment. And I'm also going to bring my embossing powder into play. And just bear with me while I plug my
no worries at all.
My heat tool in, Joe.
Loads of people still loving all of the tips. Sue says loves how Jan is explaining all of the different ways using different products. Leela says, Jan, as the others have said, you do such a wonderful job of explaining things. Thank you. I learned so much from watching these shows. Cheryl says, well, I'm so glad to see this class today. I'm trying to figure out which stamps to get first. I just want to say how busy that stamping platform is. Details are there along the bottom of your screen at the moment. It is incredibly busy for this. It has been out of stock for such a long time. If you've been waiting for it, it's the 8x8 platform with the magnetic base as well. $24.99, well, $22.49. I can't believe we've got it on a discount as well as having it as a back in stock.
I asked especially, Joe.
Yeah, oh
I
well.
asked especially if we could bring it with a discount.
Jan's pulled it out of the bag for you today. $22.49 or $26.99. Of course, you'll get your club discount on top of that as well. So if you've been waiting, definitely grab it now. Just hearing how many of you are going for that in this show. It's very, very busy there.
Brilliant. Okay. So you saw how quickly that ink dried that we was using. There was no way my embossing powder was going to stick to that with the speed that it dried. So what I want to do now is actually put some medium down that it will stick to. So I've swapped to my pigment ink here. And like Georgina was saying, you could actually use your sticky ink. If you're happy with the depth of the black, you could just use your clear sticky ink, but you were likely to contaminate off the stamp. It ends up a wee bit dirty. So I've gone for the black pigment, and again, nice tapping action on there to get it to release the ink. And what I'm doing, I'm not too worried, you know, that if it deepens the black even more, but it actually gives me an ink with what we call a more open time. So it takes it longer to dry, which gives me the time now to cover it with embossing powder. So just make sure it's all transferred over there. And then once we take this one off here now, and I've got, it's the biggest container of embossing powder I've ever had because I use the clear more than anything. I like to stamp with my coloured inks, unless I'm using gold or silver, and then emboss with the clear. And the main reason for that, I said I would explain later, is if you get little specks of embossing powder where you don't want it, the clear doesn't show up as much. If I'd have done this in clear ink and put black embossing powder on, every little speckle where it shouldn't be in the black would show up. And that's the bit that personally I don't like. I prefer it to look nice and clean. So that's why I stamp in the colour and emboss in the clear. So we've turned the embossing tool, we've plugged it in now. We should have some, yeah, there we go. And the top tip with the embossing tool, the heat tool, is to let it heat up. So make sure it heats up to temperature before you start using it. And then again, questions about whether we're going to heat from the top or underneath. Again, I would suggest trying both. There is a very slight difference. If you heat from the top, you'll get like a slightly pitted finish on your embossing powder. Heat from underneath, it's a little bit smoother. So again, try both, see which you prefer. It works both ways. I'm going to do it from underneath today because it's when we're demoing it on screen for you, it's a nice way of showing how it's going to work. So I'm going to start up here near the top of the heart and literally just hold this, and I'm about sort of a couple of inches away from the cardstock underneath. And that heat just needs to penetrate the cardstock, and you can see the top of the T there.
Ooh,
straight away.
I love this.
It never gets old, this, Joe. And as soon as it's turned, you're going to follow it and chase it round your design. You don't need to hold it any longer. Once it's gone glossy like that, it's done its job. So we're in the top section of the heart now. You see it going? I love it, honestly.
Look at it.
I could sit and do this every day.
It's mad.
So it's just allowing time for that heat to get through your cardstock. And obviously the thicker the card, the longer that takes. This is actually stamping card, so it's a decent 300 GSM weight card. But it's just taking that powder, and it melts the powder. And once the powder's melted, that's it, it's done. So there's no point in holding your heat tool over it any longer. You just move on to the next part. We're going to go down to the bottom of that heart.
Can you overcook it?
Yes. If you carry on going too long, it tends to sort of fall back into the card almost, and it feels flat when you've finished.
Right.
Whereas this way, when it's done just the right amount, you should be able to feel like a slight raised texture on your finished design. Now, I wouldn't recommend touching it straight away because it's a little bit tacky while it's still warm. Just got to the end there. Let me turn that off now so I can hear. There we go. Whew. All right, so just leave it for a few seconds to cool down. And once it's cooled, once you rub your finger over there, you should be able to feel that it's just slightly raised over the design, okay? But you get that lovely, I love the black glossy finish. Let me just see if I can get, there we go, look, you can see it in the line
Really
there.
cute, isn't it?
Just on that sort of background. Now, I'm not too worried about the edge pieces. Those, it didn't look finished to me without a bit of something just joining it together. So what we're going to do then is we're just going to make a finished project with this one. So I've taken a piece of, again, I use that stamping card to make my card blanks. And this is a full length, if I remember rightly, of A4. Yep, so the full length of our UK A4, which is just slightly short of 11 3/4 inches, and it measures 6 3/4 in top to bottom, okay? And then I've scored it at 6 3/4 to make myself a square in the background. And then the front piece is slightly shorter. And what I want to do is actually make my matten layer there to fit over, so it's going to open with that piece hanging over the edge there, yeah?
You do love a concept, don't you, Jan?
Pardon?
You do love a concept, don't you?
I like something a bit different, Joe. And I think, you know, when we're demoing like this, it's like, it's nice to be able to bring different things to the table. And I'm forever experimenting with stuff. And I always say, you know, when I was teaching, I used to say, people, don't stress about it. At the end of the day, it's a few bits of cardstock which have cost pennies. You know, don't worry if it doesn't work. You can either use your bit of card to die cut something out of. Even in the worst case scenario, if it ends up in the bin, it's not the end of the day. So I've just put tape on the back of part of it there, because I don't want to stick this side down. And I've made that just a bit, so I think it's about 1/4 inch smaller to fit in the gap there. And then we're going to pop this piece on top. So you will find when you've heated card, it does warp a little bit. But card doesn't have a memory of its own, so you can just shape it back into place there. And I think just when I've done something like this, I tend to use my red line tape.
I think we might just seen the demo of the show, you know, Jan.
Just to make sure that it's actually folded flat. Now, I often do this before, I usually prep this part beforehand, but with heat embossing, it doesn't like the tape on the back when you're heat embossing. It can sometimes damage the adhesive on the back, so I tend to do it afterwards. So just because that card is a little tiny bit warped from the heat, the red line tape will keep it firmly in place. And secret again with your red line tape is to make sure you get all the air bubbles out of it. So make sure you've got a really good adhesion on the back. And once you've got those, it goes much darker, the red on the back of it. You can see this bit's got lots of sort of gaps in here. Give it a good press down. And once you've got all those air bubbles out, this should come literally, whoops, straight off there. So we're just going to take all the liner off the back there. Try not to get it stuck to me instead of the card. And then this one I know is going to keep this flat now on here. So once we've got this opening the right way, we're going to pop this one over the top, and I've just left a slightly smaller. I just wanted a very, very narrow black edge to tie in with the black embossing that we've done on the front there. So you can see how I've got a slightly wider green edge and just a tiny, tiny black one just to bring it into line. And then that piece that I'd done with the music note on, which was the other part in here, I've already done exactly the same. I've heat embossed it on there, and this one's going to go inside, and we're going to line that up so that when it's closed, this one's like a little bit of a surprise because it's hiding under the front one. So again, we leave that same border round here, pop that one on there, and when it's closed, you don't realise that that piece is there. So that's our design. There are some more elements on here as well. So if you wanted to add some of these gorgeous little notes that have got the heart shapes on, little separate hearts, if you wanted to add a few more, you can. And then when we open, you've got that extra bit inside with still plenty of space there to write your sentiment in there. So you make my heart sing, Jo.
Ah, how gorgeous is that? I love that. I think it's a really, really beautiful creation that Jan has done just there.
Thank you.
Definitely in the running for the card of the show. Remember, we're going to be doing the card of the week later as well during our Second Chance Sunday show. Myself and Jan here with you at 7 p.m. UK time, which is going to be for the next couple of weeks, 3 p.m. Eastern time. So make sure you join us for that. Let's take you back through the Sharon Callis collection that we have available on the show for you today. A really lovely sort of versatile collection because you've got different bits in here. I love that you've got a bit of a frame encasing your sentiment, but then you've also got your embellishments in here as well, which is brilliant. So you've got friendship, you also have happiness, which is only loads of embellishing elements within that one. This one is from the heart, which you've just seen the lovely Jan use. This one here is laughter. I love the little bubbles in there. This is your wonderful cake. Who doesn't love cake? And you finally got beautiful in here as well. Really, really love that. The sentiments are gorgeous. The embellishment and embellishing items are really beautiful in there as well. Right, I can see a lot of you are very full baskets. It's going to give you an opportunity to get yourself checked out. Whilst you do that, it's double points weekend. Up until the end of today. So there's your last chance to take advantage of double points. When we talk about double points, we are of course talking about Club Inspire. Here's Sarah to take you through all the details.
Welcome to Club Inspire, our free loyalty club. As a member of the club, you can save up to 20% every time you shop with us. For every £1 you spend, whether it's in one of our stores or on our website, you'll collect 1 loyalty point. The more points you have, the more benefits you'll receive. As a welcome present, we'll give you 20% discount with your very first order. Once you place your first order, you'll be given 250 points straight away, making you a bronze member. This will mean that you'll receive a 5% discount on all of your purchases until the end of the next calendar year, plus priority postage. 500 points takes you up to silver membership, where you'll get 10% discount plus free shipping when you spend over £20. When you get to 750 points, you'll become a gold member, which gets you a whopping 15% discount on every order, and we'll ship them to you completely free, no matter how big or small they are. Spend over £25 and we'll send them to you via our premium next day delivery courier service. When you reach 1500 points, you'll become a platinum member, giving you the same shipping benefits as a gold member, but with the added bonus of a massive 20% discount on all of your purchases. Now on top of that, you'll receive exclusive discounts, sneak peeks of brand new products, special offers and money saving vouchers. You'll have access to an exclusive secret Facebook group to meet like-minded friends, to find out information first and to be inspired by all the crafty makes. We'll send you a completely free quarterly Digimag direct into your inbox, giving you lots of hints, tips, inspiration, additional offers and some sneaky behind the scenes gossip from the team. So what are you waiting for? Become a member of our club today.
All the details there of Club Inspire. Of course, the last chance to take hold and get hold of those double points. So if you're eyeing the next level of the club, then this might be the event that's definitely going to help you get there. We're going to move on to something else. I think these are awesome. These are a real concept when it comes to your stamping, and it is the rotation stamps. Now, I foolishly asked the question, right, Jan? This is really silly of me. When you look at these and you look, see you've got that beautiful stamp there in all those different colours. I just said, why don't we just make one stamp and we just put a push stamp it down? And then it was highlighted to me that you would only be able to then do it in one colour. Silly, silly Joe. So what we've done is 4 stamps. So what actually happens is you can see here the stamp, and as you stamp it, what you do is you change the colour as you stamp, as you turn the stamp as you go around. And what it does is it builds up to this lovely, full, lush, multicoloured stamped image, which is excellent. So you've got Meadow Reef in here, which is that one just there. You also have Butterfly Roses, which is this one, with the little schmetterlings in there. You've got this one, which is your Rustic Botanicals. I really love that one. I think it would look great in an autumnal theme. And then finally, you've got Butterfly Wishes, which is that one just there. which is brilliant. So a really lovely mixture of different styles there. 44.16 or 52.95 if you want to get your hands on those. We've also got your favourite item in the show thus far. It is your magnetic stamping platform. It is back in stock. I mean, that was like over here. I was nowhere near
that stamp. That just shows how weighty
I think it might have a poltergeist or something in the. It might be something. Maybe there's some spirits in here, not the vodka and gin variety. What you've got here is your 8x8 platform. So you've got the base in here, the magnetic base, and you've got the stamping platform over the top. It's brilliant for rotating stamps, brilliant for layering stamps, just awesome when you want to get that exact same stamped image in exactly the same place every single time. And you've got a discount as well as a back in stock there, and you can still use your Club Inspired discount too, $22.49 or $26.99 if you want to get your hands on that one. Right, National Craft Month. Don't forget, in every single show throughout the month of March, in every single day, we're giving away an amazing haul of incredible craft products. Let's have a look at today's. Oh, you've got some great cut and emboss folders in there. I can see some folders. Pop out numbers. You've got some butterfly alphabets in there. Loads of stuff. All you need to do is just comment in any one of our shows and we will pick a winner during our 7 p.m. hour. So during that Second Chance Sunday show with myself and Jan, one of you lovely lot will be winning all of that just for commenting away either on Facebook or on YouTube. Now, the US has got a bit of a spring in its step. It has sprung forward. We're a little bit, we're not feeling the same thing. We're on a bit of a lag here in the UK. So what happens is, right, we have this time of the year, 2 weeks at the beginning of summer, 2 weeks at the end of summer, where you guys on the East Coast, you go into daylight saving before we do. So it gets very, very complicated. Basically, it means that for the next 2 weeks, all of the shows for East Coast times are going to be 1 hour later. Details are here on the side of your screen. So it means the midday show here in the UK is now at 8 a.m. That 3 p.m. show is 11 a.m. East Coast time, and our UK 7 p.m. show is at 3 p.m. on the East Coast. So I hope it means that you'll get, well actually, do you know what? If you normally have to get up to watch that 7 a.m. show, it means you just get a little bit of extra time in bed. It means an extra cup of coffee in bed with the papers in the morning, I'm sure. But yes, that'll happen for 2 weeks, and then 2 weeks today, it'll all go back to the standard times that it was before, which is fantastic. Right, lots of other stuff in the show that I want to share with you. That would be a very long delayed dispatch if that was the case. If we weren't sending these to you to the 20th of November, I can confirm they are in stock and ready to go right now. You're not going to have to wait till the 20th of November for these. $35.95 or $44.77. We'll get that changed. These are awesome. A lot of you have actually already gone for these in the show. Jan will be taking us through these in more detail a little bit later in this show. But if you want to grab them, they are available right now, not on the 20th of November. We also have for you the background layering stamps. These are awesome, because you've got 3 separate stamps in here. Use them all individually. You do get a really nice effect, but when you layer them up on top of each other, boom, you get something absolutely stunning. $12.99 or $19.95 if you want to get those ones. Now we've got the pigment inks. These are those sticky inks that you're going to be able to use with your embossing powders. They do blend together still as well. $23.95 or $33.36, a great price to get 6 really popular colours there. Same deal for you on the harmonies. You've got the blues in here. You've also got that gorgeous, is that the burgundy that's in there? It's a really lovely dark pink, as well as a straw bale too. Really a great selection of colours there. Great for that stamping if you want it. It was plum jam, sorry. Great if you want it to dry very, very quickly. We've also got the Finesse alcohol-proof ink pad collection. Now great for using with your alcohol markers, but as Jan said, great for just stamping out a plain sentiment, then these are awesome for that as well. $16.96 or $23.63. We also have the waterproof one, so any of your colouring mediums that have water in them, so your sparkle inks, your aqua blend pencils, your aqua markers, your tricolour markers, these are the ink pads that you're going to want to use for all of those. Lots of love for that last demonstration. Joe Woodward says, beautiful card, Jan. We'll definitely be trying the background technique. Karen says, Jan and CCTV, this has been absolutely brilliant and helpful class. Bookmark marking and forwarding the link to my best friend that I recently got into card making, starting with a Spectrum Noir box. What a great idea.
Good, I'm glad.
It's really nice, isn't it? You can, if you want to. If you want to share it with anyone on Facebook, you can just hit the share button, share it to your timeline. If you've got lots of crafty friends, that's also a great way of doing it. Just to let you know as well, if you're spending over £25 or dollars on Spectrum Noir items, you will save an extra £5 or dollars. Just need to make sure that that's £25 or dollars after your club discount has come off. All of the ink pads on this show, they are applicable to that deal as well. So definitely take advantage of that. What I'd also say is if you've got any questions whatsoever, we've still got about 35 minutes left on this show, so definitely time to get them in. Crafters TV, if you are across on Facebook, or Crafters Companion on YouTube, search there, pop yourself in the comments, and the lovely Colleen is our social media superstar for the show today. She'll pop those over to me in the studio, which is awesome. What would you like to take us through next, Jan?
We're going to have a look at those rotation stamps, and honestly, the design of these blow me away, Joe. It's such a simple idea, but a really, really effective sort of finish. So we've got 4 different designs available. So this one's the Butterfly Wishes. And again, we've used the metallic inks on this one just to show you, you've got the black card at the bottom there and the white at the top. So we've got Butterfly Wishes there. We've also got the Butterfly Roses. So again, depending on, you know, what colour combinations you use, you're going to get a different result every time. You can also stamp them out in black and use your colouring mediums to colour them in. You know, there's some of like the roses there lend themselves to sort of be coloured in. Colour them in using your ink pads. And then we've got the meadow wreath there. Again, beautiful design on that one. So you can see just using the different colourways, they would look totally different each time you stamp them. And then with Joe, I do like the rustic botanicals, and I'm going to use this one in my demo there. So have a beautiful day. And like you said, Joe, quite rustic done in those colours. It looks quite autumnal. And yet what I'm going to do with it is going to make it look totally different, because we're going to use some really fresh spring colours on it.
Do you know what I'd like to see with that? I'd like to see that mounted on a bit of Hessian on the front of a card. With the autumnal colours would look really lovely, wouldn't it?
Really nice, maybe for harvest and things like that. And Thanksgiving over in the States, it would be a nice one. But yeah, the actual technique with this is such a brilliant idea, it really is. So I'm going to use, as I say, the rustic botanicals, and in there you're going to get, again, your photopolymer stamp. So good quality stamp in there, and again, it's a good size. So just looking at that, I think they're about 5.5 inch square, if I remember rightly. Let me just give you a quick measure on there. Yeah, 5.5 inch square, your main stamp. And then you've got an element in the middle here. That's not going to stamp, but in each pack we've put you a different sentiment. So
can we
this
mix
one's
and
got
match those sentiments?
Sorry?
Can we mix and match those sentiments?
You certainly can. Yeah, you certainly can. The centrepiece is equal in each one, so they will all pop out and into whichever one you want to use. So you've got basically, the design is almost like a quarter of the finished complete design, and just by turning it each time, it's going to fill in a different section of your stamp. Now this is where your stamping platform comes into its own. So I am going to use this one again. I know we just used it on the last one, but this one really is the best piece of equipment for this design of stamp. You can do it with your stamping mat. All right, so if you've got your stamping mat and one of the single platforms, you would obviously need the one that's at 6x6 minimum. It's not going to fit on the little one. But what I've done with mine at home, if I'm using that, let me just grab the 6x6 platform there. What I've done is I've centered mine with the crosshair in the middle, and then I've drawn around the feet onto my actual mat with a permanent pen. And then I've made sure that my cardstock fits inside here, so that each time I'm putting it down, I put the feet in the little circles on the mat, and I know that it's going to go down in the same space each time. Because you need to be able, you need a point to sort of centre it on. Now this one's actually done that work for us. So what I've done, and I always cut my cardstock bigger than what I need, so that I've got room to anchor it on here with the magnets. So this is actually a piece of Nina cardstock this time. And literally I'm going to centre that. And I've seen 1 or 2 people again on social media, we do keep an eye on it during the week, and people that have still sort of asked questions about getting it lined up properly. 2 things to remember is that your cardstock needs to be perfectly central on your mat that you're using, whether it's this one or the stamping mat. So I've actually cut this to fit inside that internal square there, and I want to make sure that stays in place just there. So pop my magnets on there. The second one is to make sure that your stamp is also bang central. Just 1 millimetre out, and I'm being very sort of precise with this, but just 1 millimetre out is going to affect where your stamps land, and therefore maybe get some overstamping when you're doing the turning. So 2 ways of doing it. If you've got a good eye for things being straight and centred, you can literally pop your stamp down and you're basically looking for about an even border all the way round. Now, if you're not so good at lining up, use the grid. So I've actually got my stamp face down again, the details on this side underneath, face down onto the cardstock. And again, we've got the grid on here. Now, I can see straight away that my eyeballing wasn't, although overhead it doesn't look bad, from where I'm stood it does look a little bit out, but I know from stamping these at home that my grid needs 5 squares on each side. So when I count the squares on here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I should have an edge of a stamp. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, edge of a stamp, and all the way round. So if I pop this down now, I can see that it is slightly out. It's not far, but if I pick it up on here just gently, whoops, pop that back in a second, I can see here that we've got slightly lower at the bottom. So all I'm going to do is readjust this. Literally pop it into the gap that I want it to be to make sure it's lined up all the way around. And again, just let that fall into place so that we've got it nice and square. Just need to line that up where it pulled it off the stamp. So those 2 things need to be as accurate as you can get them. Your card, whatever size it is, central on your base, and your stamp as central as you can get it, using the grid lines and the crosshair on the actual platform. And then you need to choose whatever ink. So again, I've chosen 4 that are in our collection, and these are our quick dry, purely because the minute I've stamped one colour, I'm going to rotate it and stamp again. I don't want any smudging. So I've chosen Spring Meadow, which is that brilliant zesty green. It's like a citrus green. I've chosen Ocean Blue, Plum Jam, which is one of my favourites there, and Lagoon, which is a dark turquoise. So we're going to do one section in each colour, and it's going to build up that whole wreath. So I'm going to start with the lightest colour, which is my Spring Meadow. And again, we're back to those quick dry inks, which are on that spongy pad. So no matter how gentle I am here, I nearly always get ink on the back of my stamp. I try my best to just follow my own advice. And I'm literally, all I'm doing is sitting it on top of the stamp, and you can feel the suction between the stamp and the sponge pad. But you can see I've still got ink, no matter how much I try, but it won't transfer, I promise. Anything that's on the base of the stamp won't transfer. So my starting position is always with my Crafter's Companion logo in the right place here where I can read it, so bottom right hand side, and I'm just going to press that down. I've got Nina cardstock in my base here. Give it a good press all the way around to transfer wherever you've got the ink on that image, and then let go. Okay, bring it back up and you've got your first layer, and you think, well, doesn't look very hot there, it sort of looks a bit hit and miss to me, but bear with me. All right, and again, you've seen my scruffy old cloth before, it comes in handy for all sorts. So all I'm going to do is take the surplus ink off here, just to make sure that I'm not cross-contaminating my ink pads. Take the next one. So we're going to go with the Ocean Blue, which is the mid-tone in the blues. And again, just look straight away. I think I'm being gentle, and I still end up with it everywhere. So even we're not perfect, it's like, it's not easy. But as I say, it'll only transfer, because the stamps are raised up from the background. With this system, it won't transfer the rest of that ink. So again, we started in position 1. Now, if I press this down, this is going to overstamp what's already there. So I need to make a quarter turn, and I've moved my logo to the next position. So it's gone from the bottom right to the bottom left, and press again. So be confident with that press down, because you've done all the lining up. You know where everything goes now. Let it transfer there. And when we let go, you've got your second part. You can see it starting to fill in the gaps now. So again, quick scrub just to get rid of, and you can see why my cloth's so dirty now, because this is what happens with it. So next one, we're going to go with plum jam, and I'm literally just repeating each time with a different colour. As I say, these look terrific done in the black as well. So if you made a nice bright background like we did on that last demo, you could stamp all 4 segments in black and get like a silhouette image. They look brilliant. Particularly this one that's got a lot of sort of silhouette parts to it. Some of the ones with a more open part, you can actually colour in. So this was position 1. This would overstamp the green. If I leave it in position 2, it's going to overstamp the blue. So I need to go a 3rd time, and my symbol's now up at the top. Now, if you haven't got this system and you've not got anything with a symbol on, pop a little sticker or a mark on it so that you've got something to follow all the way round. Just put a little circle sticker on it or a little mark with your permanent pen, just so that you've got something there to actually work with. So this is now filling in those gaps again on the 3rd sort of quadrant of that design. And we've got that lovely plum jam going into there. Okay, so again, quick scrub just to get off any residue. The pink will always dye your stamps, whether they're acrylic or polymer. Because this is sort of like a natural pigment in here, it will always bring, but it doesn't damage them. All right, it just sort of stains them a little bit. Last one then, we're going to go with Lagoon. You can see I'm just literally repeating that process 4 times with 4 different colours. Make sure you've got all that coverage on your stamp. I usually go around a couple of times just to make sure I've not missed any of the stamp there. And then we need to go, we were on that 3rd position up at the top here, 1 more turn. So we've done position 1, position 2, position 3. My logo's now in that top right corner, and that's going to fill in those gaps that I've got left in the design. So we've got that lovely dark turquoise now in there, just to give it a good push down. Make sure we've made contact with all the paper, and you can see there we've got that lovely design going on. Really, really pretty. And again, depending on what colour, if you did this in sort of browns and oranges, and maybe the dark yellow one, the honey pot, you'd get a completely different look. And I just think it's a stunning way to get that image, and people are like, how on earth has she done that? When they look at it, they'll be like, how have you actually done that? So yeah, and literally because it's quick dry ink, I've not got to worry about any of it smudging there at all. And then cut it down to the size that you want to be your design. So I've done literally that at home.
Jan, for holidays, would like to know why Nina and not stamping card here with this.
It would work just the same on stamping card, all right? A lot of it depends on how much weight you want in your finished project. I'm going to make a box with this one, and I used the stamping card to make the box base. I just wanted something a wee bit lighter. It would work just as well on stamping card if that's your chosen cardstock. Yeah. Awesome. So all I've done is exactly what you saw me do there. We've got the turquoise part there, look, and I've just cut it down now to a 6-inch square. So taken the edges off. But if I started with a 6-inch square, the reason I do this, you might say, well, it's wasting cardstock, Jan. But if you start like this, you will find that when you put your stamp down, your magnets are in the way of the stamp.
Okay.
So I prefer to have a bit bigger piece of card and chop the excess off so that you can get those magnets in place and you're not fighting with them. Okay,
awesome.
So let's just take that piece then, and then what I've done, one of my favourite coloured cardstocks, I just thought that went with that spring, perfect match there, isn't it, with the Spring Meadow.
Really
and this
nice.
is the Chartreuse Centura Pearl. So we're literally going to mount this on here and then use this as the top of a gift box. So I'm going to use my tape pen, I think, just to stick those together. So, I've got glue school coming up next week.
Have you?
Yes.
Next, when?
It'll be Wednesday next week.
Wednesday.
So similar to this,
but that'll be with me. A week
all
on Wednesday.
about the glues. Yep.
Really looking forward to that.
Yes.
That'll be awesome. Make sure you join us both.
It's like if you're wondering why we're always swapping and changing the glues, tune in next Wednesday. I think it'll be at 3 o'clock. The 17th, I think it is.
Fantastic. Yes, it'll be you and I then in that case.
Yeah, and we've got all
this
the
coming
info
Wednesday,
on the glues.
sorry.
Yes.
Oh, it won't be me. It will be Ben.
Is it Ben back on Wednesday?
Yeah.
Okay, so we've done that one, and then I've propped my base, I've prepped it even, so I'll just literally stick these together, and then we're going to put that piece on top. And then I've stamped out the sentiment from the same set there that we're going to pop in the middle. So again, boxes you've seen us do before. I think our Craig made a box on Craft Along yesterday. And I know Debs did a box when she was doing Craft Along. So there's lots of videos out there. So that's my base. And then the top, I've just followed the edges round with that lovely pearlescent cardstock just to match. And again, we're going to take those pieces off ready. And I'm going to map that piece on the front before I stick it together. So again, tape pen, just the job for this. Really strong double-sided adhesive. If you prefer a wet glue, either of your glues would work for this, the tacky or the all-purpose. And again, my box measures 6 1/4 inches. And then I've just cut the cardstock down to fit inside there. So there we go. So again, we're just going to fold the edges in to make those 90-degree angles on there. Give it a little rub just to make sure it's sealed. And then
nice to make a box, but lovely to decorate it as well.
I like to decorate them, and I think if you've taken time to make a really nice card, why not follow that theme through into to putting it into a nice box? I know on Craig's page today he's actually popped his card that he's made his mum, and it is a real stunner, and he's made a beautiful matching box to go with it. So again, I've just stamped out that stamp that came with it. Have a beautiful day. Use my nesting dies there, and that just fits perfectly in the centre there, just to give you a gorgeous little gift box to go. You know, you could have a matching card inside, you could have a set of cards with all 4 of the designs if you've got the full set of stamps. So you could put like a set of 4 cards with envelopes in as a little gift set for someone. Really, really, and I just honestly, the technology behind that stamp, whoever thought of it is genius.
Yeah, it's really
but
fantastic,
really,
isn't it?
really effective results. And I love this type of thing where when you gift it to someone, they're like, how have they done that? How have they inked all that stamp up with all them different colours? And when you see it done, it's so simple.
Really gorgeous. If you want to grab them as well, we've got a great deal on them for you. Saving you 15%, remember. So you've got 4 different options here. Then you've got Butterfly Wishes, which is this one just here. So you can see how it looks as you're stamping it, and then what it looks like when it's all stamped. You've then got as well the Meadow Reef, which is this one just here. This one is your Butterfly Roses. And then last but by no means least, you have the Rustic Botanicals, which is the one that the lovely Jan has just used there. $44.16 if you want to use those, or $52.95 if you're in the US. Don't forget as well about that magnetic platform. It is back in stock. Not only is it back in stock, but it is also on a discount too. I mean, I think it would be nigh on impossible to do something like that without this kind of platform and base. It's going to make those kind of jobs absolutely a cinch. $22.49 or $26.99 if you want to get your hands on those. Right, the other thing, oh hello, oh there we are. Oh sorry, saw a bit of love handle there. I want to just take you back through. Sorry, that's all you needed on a Sunday. What's on a Sunday? On a Sunday of all days, not you need me exposing myself to you. Let me take you back.
Can we just stop there, Joe?
Yeah. These always ever popular, the Lee Holland stamps. Let me take you through them. I love that they're not too big as well. So if you love colouring projects, but you don't want something you're going to take hours over, you want something that's going to take you more sort of minutes rather than hours, these are great, but they look really effective too. Within each one, you're getting that focal image, and then you're getting the sentiments in there and that lovely brush lettering style too. You've got a friend's worth flowers. We've then got this one. I love all the little bits of pollen around the flower here on this one. This is You Are My Sunshine. You've got this one here with love. I think you could make this one quite grungy if you wanted to. This one here says, hello you. I love how you get that dimension there on the balloon. Lee Holland is a renowned illustrator as well, based in London. And he has a lot of digi-stamps out there on the market, but this is the only place here at Crafters Companion you can get the physical stamps. So you can see here, I love the cake. And again, sending hugs, loads of lovely sentiments in there. there. And the gorgeous present here with the flowers on the top of it too. And this, he looks so smug, doesn't he, with his like, yeah, I bought this. I love it. It's super adorable. $35.95 or $44.77 to get your hands on those. Very, very busy. Right, Jan. Do you think we should do card of the show and then do your next demonstration? I mean, we've only got about 15 minutes left.
Give people time to vote, don't we?
Yeah, let's do that now then, if that's okay with you. Yep.
So do you want me to show what I've done then?
Yes,
already?
please.
Let's have a little
And we'll name them as we go through.
Although the Lee Holland one is very cute, but...
if you've got a finished sample, you could put it... If you've got it finished or you don't...
No, I haven't.
Okay, no worries.
I don't always have a finished one done. So we'll go with the 3 that we've got here.
So we call that one Mum?
We did. We started out with that lovely floral stamp set. So we did the envelope there for Mum. All right.
Brilliant.
You can pop your project in. All right.
So
then
Mum.
we did... Should we have heart for that
Love
one? Which was those gorgeous Sharon Callis sets of stamps there. So
Beautiful.
that was the card for that one.
We'll call that one
those,
heart then.
Pigment inks, yep. And then last of all, we've just done the rotation stamps there. All right. Should we call that wreath?
Should we call it beautiful?
Or
should we call it
beautiful?
wreath? What do you want?
Yeah.
Or winner? No, we'll call it beautiful. We'll call it beautiful. So Mum, beautiful, and what was the middle
Heart.
one? Heart. Mum, heart,
Or
beautiful.
1, 2 and 3 if it's easier.
1, 2, 3, Mum, heart, beautiful, whatever you... Colleen will work it out, I'm sure. Yeah, Mum, heart, vote heart, vote beautiful. Are you team Mum, team heart, or team beautiful? Let us know. And the lovely Colleen will ratify the results and let us know in about 5 or 10 minutes time. So get your votes in right away. If you want to be cut. And the great thing is all you've got to do is vote, and if you vote then you're in the draw, remember, for that National Craft Month giveaway, which is also absolutely fantastic. Now they don't come much cuter really, do they, Jan, than these superb stamps?
They really are. And I mean, I started out, as I say, stamping, and I used to love the cutesy designs. I've got a lot of stamps from a different company that are very much this kind of look. So when these came out, these absolutely just fit my style. And you can make them sort of masculine, you can make them very feminine. I did one previously that was very shabby chic. So again, however you want, and it all depends on how you decorate it, how you what colour tones you pick, what goes with it, as to what your finished sample looks like. So we're going to do something a little bit different again today. So do you want me to do the demo? Are we going straight into demo?
Yes, I believe so, if that's right with you.
Fabulous. Okay, I'll show you. I've got a couple of samples. I'll show you towards the end there. But again, we've got photopolymer stamps again here. So you've got that clear look design, and I've chosen Thank You on this one. Excuse me. All right, and you've got this, they're all the little dragon, and then they've got different things with them. So he's got this gorgeous big sort of, I don't know whether it's a hat box or a big gift box or a chocolate box, but I just thought,
imagine how many chocolates
again,
you
with
get
it
in
being
there.
Mother's Day, you know, you can just imagine a really nice gift in there. And then all the bit that's spare is just covered in sentiment. So this one's got hello, sending hugs, which I really like that sentiment, and thank you so much in there. So we've got 3 different sentiments. So I'm going to take off the stamp itself, and I'm just going to use the little stamping platform, and it should just fit, I think, on this one. Yep. All right, and we're going to use that stamping mat. So again, I've got a smooth cardstock. I've got the Nina. It could just be the stamping card, and to be honest, I sort of flip between the two. It depends what I'm doing and which box is at the top of my pile, to be honest. I have all my go-to cardstock, so my stamping card, my Nina, my watercolour, my matte black, my craft card are all in boxes together. So if the Nina's nearer the top than the stamping card, that one comes out, and if it's vice versa, the other one comes out. So there's not really sort of a lot of major decision work going in. Sometimes it goes to the weight of the project. As I say, the box that we just did, because I'd got a stamping card for the box weight, I'd gone with the slightly less card for the top. So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to stamp this out just to show you the stamp, and then talk you through what I've done. So I just want a plain stamping ink. I'm not going to do much colouring, so it doesn't really matter which one I use, but I wanted the black, so we'll go with the Finesse black one there. So again, just taking that ink pad to the stamp and tapping all over until you can see the colour on all of your stamp. I very, very rarely take my stamp to the pad, unless it's a little tiny embellishment stamp or a sentiment. Normally, the rule of thumb I was taught when I started out was the biggest item on the bottom, and that is usually your stamp platform and stamp. All right, the ink pad itself is smaller than those two, so you take that to your stamp. Okay, make sure he's all inked up, and then literally, it doesn't matter where it goes on here because I wanted to cut him out. So I'm just going to pop him down, nice even pressure again, and just give it time for that ink to transfer from your stamp into that cardstock. We've got that nice smooth surface on there, and we've got that mat underneath to absorb the pressure, and just look at him.
Beautiful.
He is adorable.
You could just
isn't
leave
he?
them like that if you wanted to,
Honestly,
couldn't you?
I just think
I think
you
on a
could,
tag or something, that'd be enough.
Yeah, and I just think it's like my girls that were on, my eldest daughter that's got the baby is a writer, which you've heard me talk about before. And
Yeah.
I know one or two of you have actually looked into her books, but I just think they'd make a great little story as to what's he doing, where's he taking the gift, you know, so to what's he got inside, who's it for? So yes.
I reckon he's lifted that.
Do you?
I don't reckon that's his. I think he looks so smart.
He's been in the department store and off he goes.
Well,
yeah.
maybe not that. Maybe
Where's he
it's for
come
his.
from?
Maybe it's for a brother or a sister or something, and he's just decided that he's had enough of it. He's going to take it for himself.
Oh, I think
They're going
he's
to
off
find
to
him
see
somewhere,
his
chocolate
mum. It's
smudged all
Mother's
over
Day.
his face.
He's off to see mum and see what she's doing. So what I've done then is exactly that, and I've literally cut it out with one of our nesting dies there, with one of the stitched edge nesting dies. And all I've done is I've added a little bit of shading at the bottom here with one of my alcohol pens, a couple of bits of colour at the top. That's all I want to do on that base image. And then what I've done then is go to my scrap box and pull out the colour scheme I wanted to use, and literally just find some bits and pieces that I thought would fit with my design. And then I have stamped that same image onto the different pieces. So again, think about what I want where, and we're going to do a bit of paper piecing again on here. My producer challenged me to do something other than colouring, she said. So I thought, right, we can do that. We can do that. All right. So let's have a look. I'm not dobbing you in. I like a challenge, George. You know that. So again, stamp it out onto your scraps, okay? Let it dry off. That one we just slightly got a slight pearl finish to it, so I'll just let it dry for a second.
I love it stamped on colour and
yeah,
pearl.
and I mean, there's no reason why you can't stamp onto your designer papers, not at all. And then I've stamped the different elements out, excuse me. Getting dry again now.
Have you got some water over there? Have you got a sip of tea?
I'm just going to have a quick
The
sip.
lovely Tracy delivered us a half-time tea about 50 minutes ago. She really does look after us. But me and my stupidity, rather than letting her put it down, I tried to take it from her holding the cup. I was like, burning myself.
You said your hands were cold earlier.
Well, they're not now, I can assure you.
So I've literally done this, and then I've cut out the elements that I wanted. So in this instance, it's slightly different paper, but you can see where I've cut out the little dragon here. All right, and I've actually, it's a very pale pink background, just added a little bit of colour here and there with my pens on top of the paper. All right, and then I've chosen a different one, and you can see how I've built up that present that he's carrying, that box there, and we've got some. So I've stamped onto the pink one here and just cut out the strips to fit on the box and the little roses at the top. I've got this one that I've stamped on, and I've just cut the bow out. So if you like fussy cutting, this is a great technique, and you can see where that piece has got the actual box on it all together. So what we're going to do is we're going to take that piece back that I started with here, and we're literally going to pop these over the top. So I just want a little bit of my tacky glue there, and I'm going to put that on the back of the whole piece. Okay. And then we're going to pop this down straight, use the image as a guide. And the reason that I coloured these little bits, I tried cutting around them, and they're so tiny that it was like hit and miss. I ended up with one and not the other one. So I thought, right, we'll leave those flat on the card and colour them in, Jan. And we've just got the elements here. So this is literally going to line up with what's underneath. And you can see where that literally just carries on from the design as if it's all part of it. All right, you think, well, it's got his head on the hat box. It doesn't look very good, does it? So this is where the second piece comes in. And again, I'm just going to, you can see where my alcohol inks have just come through the back slightly there. Okay. And again, you know, your alcohol markers will go onto your design papers. Just make sure like we normally say when we're colouring in with the alcohol, that you've got something underneath just to absorb anything that goes through, to act like a blotter. And then this one's going to go right over the top of all of it. Use that stamped image to line it up and literally pop all those pieces into place. And it just gives it a completely different look.
You love a tweezer, don't you, Jan?
I do.
You're
My
like one of
tweezers
those,
are like an extension of my fingers.
You're like one of those chefs in like a Michelin star restaurant when they're there, you know, picking up their crests and their edible gilding plates.
They're always there. And I mean, we do that set of 4 of them, so you've got pretty much every tweezer that you want in there. But honestly, they are like an extension of my fingers. All right, so we've got him on there like so. Let's move that one out of the way. And then I've cut another layer to pick out one of the colours. So we'll stick that one onto there, a couple of bits of the double-sided tape there. So that's just the next size up in the nesting die. Okay. And then again, I've actually made a card background for him. So we've just got a piece. This is the stamping card again, comes in handy all the time. 6.5 inches square. I've taken a piece of background paper and I've just run it through my embossing folder. You can just see a bit of texture on there. It's just through one of the basket weave embossing folders. Again, just to add a bit of interest in the background, you know, it's sort of, why not emboss you? It doesn't have to be cardstock that you've inked up. You know, you can run your papers through there as well. All right, so that's going to be my matten layer. And I've used the ink round the outside rather than actually matting another piece underneath it this time, just so that it gives it like that purple edge round it. And I tend to use the pigment inks when I'm doing that, just to pop that one on the background. And again, you could layer this up with some foam pads if you wish. I think I'm going to stay flat with it this time. Okay, we're going to pop some adhesive. Whoops, I think mine's running out again. I get through these like nothing on earth, Joe. Here we go. That one's going to go to one side on there. And then I've used that out of that stamp set. I said this was my favourite, the Sending Hugs there. Just stamp that on. And I have, my husband was laughing at me because I've got a big tub of all these little tiny gems that were just ordered as a mixed one. And I can nearly always find the colours that I want. So I picked the green out, the pink out and the purple out just to match. Bit of foam under there. And we're just going to pop that. I was hovering about on here as to where I preferred it, but I think probably towards the top there, not covering up the image, but just on the top there, just to give you that little design, and then a couple of bits of bling that I've put on the bottom. So there he is, all paper piece, just a little bit of colouring on him, but just something a bit different with you. And you can do that with any of your stamps. It could be a floral stamp, it could be a, you know, sort of a design on it, anything. That one that we did at the beginning, we did a little bit of paper piecing on, but anything that's got that open work that you would normally colour into, have a go at stamping on some of your background papers and see how it comes out.
See, the thing is, I think that might have one card to show, you know, but that's not the way the cookie crumbles, Jan.
No. Well,
and
we
the winner
to show the sort of the advancement of the designs, you see, which is why I did them in that order.
Beautiful is the winner. That gorgeous box that you made, Jan,
yep,
is the winner
rotation stamps, fantastic.
Georgina called it. Not long to wait though to see if it wins creation of the week.
Show.
Because it's only in the next show, 7 p.m. here in the UK, which is of course at the moment, that's what I'm having to say all the time, 3 p.m. on the East Coast, which is fantastic. Cheryl says, oh my goodness, never thought of stamping on different colour paper and adding to original after fussy cutting coloured ones. Absolutely genius, Jan. I agree, it really is a great way of using these. Not something I've seen done before with those stamps either, which is awesome. Let me take you back through the characters that you've got in here. So this one here is your If Friends Were Flowers. This is super cute. I love that they've got the little butterfly in there. All the sentiments around that too, which make it loads of fun. This one here, you've got your You Are My Sunshine, which is awesome. Again, all those sentiments around there for you. This here is your With Love. Now, I think this is a bit... I think you could make this a bit grungy, Jan. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's not gory is not the right word. What's the word I'm looking for, Jan?
Gothic.
Gothic. That's the word.
Yes, you could have a little black dragon with his dark red heart, and then do all the black and silver
work. A little
Halloween
dragon, maybe.
Yes.
Love that.
Yes, again, it just shows, you know, different colour schemes throw a completely different look on what's essentially the same stamp.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Then this one here is Hello You. Love the dimension there in the balloon. I think it's awesome.
Yep.
He looks a bit bashful, this one, doesn't he? Do you think he's giving that balloon to a loved one?
It's for
Do you
you,
like
yeah.
a romantic,
I just think there's
liaison?
so much character in them, isn't there? There
Loads,
really is.
absolutely loads. Then from me to you with a lovely cake here as well. Again, all of those sentiments sending huge hugs in there. And then this one that you've just seen Jan using. I think, see, he's coloured up here as quite a, you know, a sweet little dragon. I think he's a naughty little dragon, this one. I really do. I think he's got a little bit of a cheeky, mischievous side to him. I'm not cheeky or mischievous, I'll have you know, in the gallery.
Not
Honestly,
at all.
How very dare you. 35.95, 44.77 if you want to go for all of those. We're going to leave you with the details, though, of that amazing stamping platform. It is back in stock, and you've got a discount on there as well. So snap it up before it no doubt goes out of stock again, as it will. Jan, can I say it's been an absolute pleasure. Back together in a couple of hours' time. What can we expect from our latest Second Chance Sunday show?
Oh, we've got a bit of country village coming up, and again, I've done something totally different. It's not going to be a village house, but we're going to show you how to use that template. We're going to get the pro out. We've got those big 12x12 stencils that we're going to have embossing later on. So yeah, join us later for that Second Chance Sunday show.
It's going to be absolutely awesome. Wrapping up your week in style here on Crafters TV. Big thanks to Jan. Big thanks to all of you at home as well. You've got a couple of hours now before you need to come back and join us for that Second Chance Sunday show. Great deals, a chance to see lots of things that recently aired and launched. And also, we will be picking our creation of the week. So we'll see you back here in a couple of hours. Take care.